What if time never truly moves? What if every heartbeat you have ever felt and every heartbeat you will ever feel already exists, silent, suspended, woven into the invisible fabric of the universe? What if the future isn't waiting ahead of you, but wrapped around you right now, pressing in from every side, unseen only because your eyes were built for sequence, not simultaneity? If that were true, then every dream, every heartbreak, every farewell is not a vanishing thing, but a coordinate in eternity, permanent and patient, waiting for you to pass through it. We speak of time as if it flows. We measure it, chase it, waste it. But have you ever tried to hold a moment, to stop a sunset in your palm, to freeze the laughter of someone you love? It slips through, yet physics whispers that perhaps nothing slips at all. Einstein warned us. The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubborn illusion. Reality, he said, is a block. Not a story unfolding, but a sculpture already complete. And we are the travelers crawling across its surface, convinced that our crawling creates the terrain. Picture it. The universe as a colossal crystal, every event embedded in its lattice. Your first cry, the collapse of a dying star, the last spark of human civilization. Each frozen in its position, unchanging, unerasable. When you recall your childhood, you are not looking back. You are simply touching a neighboring layer of that crystal, one that still exists, glowing faintly behind the veil of perception. If that's true, then time is not the river carrying us forward. We are the river gliding across an unmoving bed of rock, mistaking our own motion for the current. Perhaps everything that has ever happened and will ever happen is happening now, just not to you, not yet. Not from this angle of consciousness. Close your eyes. Somewhere, a version of you is taking your first breath. Somewhere else, you are taking your last. Both are real, simultaneous, woven into the same eternal tapestry. The mind cannot bear that thought. It rebels, it demands flow. But maybe motion is the hallucination consciousness uses to stay sane inside infinity. Imagine a film reel. Before the projector runs, every frame already exists. The beginning, the climax, the final line. They are all there, coiled in silent darkness. When the light shines through, we see the illusion of movement. The story seems to unfold. But the film does not change. Only our window across it does. We are the beam of light moving over the frames of space-time, confusing the sequence for creation. A photon never experiences time. From its perspective, the moment it leaves a distant star and the instant it touches your retina are the same event. To that particle, the cosmos has no before or after. It simply is. So, perhaps, like photons, we too inhabit a reality that is timeless. Our consciousness crawling across a frozen landscape, decoding motion from stillness. The more you think about it, the stranger it becomes. Every memory you hold, your first love, the scent of rain in an old city, the hand you didn't hold long enough, none of it is gone. It exists still, locked in the coordinates of space-time. You cannot return to it, but it hasn't vanished. Somewhere, you are still living that moment, unaware that another version of you, older and quieter, is remembering it now. What then is the present? Neuroscience says the brain lags behind reality by a fraction of a second. The moment you feel yourself in has already passed. You're always watching the replay, believing it live. The now is an echo, and yet it feels so immediate, so alive. Maybe that's the trick, to keep the illusion intact so that we can move, decide, survive. If you saw the whole sculpture at once, how could you act at all? But even illusions have beauty. The belief in flow gives us story, gives us meaning. Without it, we would be frozen gods in a frozen world, omniscient and empty. Instead, we get to believe in change. We get to say goodbye, to hope, to fall, to rise. The very sadness of impermanence is what gives the still universe its pulse. Look around your room. The dust floating in a beam of sunlight, the clock ticking faintly, the breath entering your lungs, all of it part of a timeless design. The sound waves, the photons, the chemical exchanges in your brain, each a thread in a pattern that does not evolve, only reveals itself as you move through it. You are not the author of time, you are the witness of its geometry. Imagine walking through a frozen river. Beneath the surface, every ripple, every swirl of water is locked in place, transparent and unmoving. You step carefully, believing you are advancing, but the river is complete. Every step you take was always there. The sensation of motion is only the sound of your awareness scraping against the ice. Still, there is warmth in that image, isn't there? Because if everything already exists, then nothing is truly lost. The laughter that once echoed, the people who once held your hand, the moments you think are gone, they are not erased. They are preserved, eternal, unreachable, yet real. Death itself may be nothing more than a shift in perspective, a migration of awareness from one frame to another. We call time a thief, but perhaps it's the ultimate guardian. It hides our memories so that we can keep walking. It buries our future so we can still feel wonder. The block universe is not cruel, it's merciful. It gives us ignorance, which feels like freedom. It lets us believe that we have choice, so that meaning can bloom inside inevitability. And yet, if everything is predetermined, what becomes of free will? What does it mean to choose when the choice was carved into the universe before you were born? Maybe freedom was never about rewriting the script. Maybe it's about reading it consciously. A tree cannot alter the rings inside its trunk, but it can still grow toward the light. Perhaps awareness is our way of turning fate into art. Consider chaos theory. Even in deterministic systems, patterns of infinite complexity emerge. Maybe consciousness is such a pattern, a self-aware loop arising from inevitability, discovering poetry within physics. We are the universe looking at itself, marveling at its own perfection, pretending to be lost so it can rediscover home. Think of the stars. Their light left them millions of years ago, yet it arrives tonight, steady and bright. You gaze upward and the past looks back. In that gaze, time folds. The ancient photon touches your eye, completing a journey that, to it, never began. You stand between epochs, one heartbeat connecting eons. Maybe this is what eternity feels like. Not endless duration, but the collapse of all duration into presence. Our stories, birth, struggle, love, death, may be cosmic illusions projected by a still universe. But illusions matter. When you hold someone's hand, when you forgive, when you look at the horizon and feel small and infinite at once, you are not defying the block universe, you are fulfilling it. You are the consciousness that gives its silent structure a voice. Perhaps the point was never to move through time, but to awaken inside it, to realize that each moment you experience is both temporary and eternal. The present is not a bridge between what was and what will be. It is the only place where eternity touches awareness. And if everything is already written, maybe the miracle is that you still care, that you still love, fear, dream, and hope, knowing somewhere deep that none of it can be undone. The script cannot change, but it can still be felt, and feeling may be the highest act of creation left to us. So, as you listen now, know this. This exact moment, your heartbeat, the sound of my voice, the quiet of your room, has always existed. You were always meant to arrive here. The decision to continue, to listen, to wonder if any of this is true, was already woven into the structure of being. You are simply discovering the coordinates that were waiting for you. Do not think of this as confinement. Think of it as completion. You are not walking toward the future. You are walking through it. Every step you take reveals more of what has already been shaped in silence. The universe is not happening to you. You are happening to it, as light happens to a prism, revealing the colors hidden in its stillness. Maybe that's the secret. The future already exists. You are not creating it. You are exploring it, one breath at a time. And in this frozen river of moments, the motion you feel is not the world moving around you. It's your own awareness awakening, melting through eternity's ice, realizing, perhaps for the first time, that nothing is lost and everything is already here. You are standing still, yet everything seems to move. The sky drifts, clocks spin, and shadows crawl across the floor. You call that movement time, but Einstein once whispered something that still unsettles the human mind. For us believing physicists, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. He didn't say this as poetry. He said it as a fact of geometry. Imagine space and time as threads of the same cloth. woven together so tightly that when one bends, the other must bend too. When you move through space, you also move through time. But the universe doesn't see that as motion. It sees it as structure. To the cosmos, your entire life, your beginning and your end, are not separate points connected by a line. They are part of the same solid sculpture, unchanging, eternal, all at once. This idea was born not in mysticism, but in mathematics. In 1905, Einstein's special relativity shattered the illusion of universal simultaneity. There is no now that everyone shares. Your present and mine are not aligned. They tilt and slide, depending on how fast we move or where we stand. Time is elastic. It stretches and contracts. It bends under motion. It dilates under gravity. It is not a ruler, but a shadow. Consider two twins. One stays on Earth, the other boards a ship and travels near the speed of light. When the traveler returns, less time has passed for them than for their sibling. They have aged slower. Their now was stretched. Their clock devoured seconds more greedily than ours. From the traveler's frame, their journey lasted a few years. From ours, decades. So which is real? The unsettling answer is both. Each perspective defines its own present. There is no master clock ticking for all of creation. When Hermann Minkowski reinterpreted Einstein's equations, he revealed something profound. He said, "Henceforth space by itself and time by itself are doomed to fade away into mere shadows, and only a kind of union of the two will preserve an independent reality." In that union, space-time, the universe becomes a block, four-dimensional, where every event exists simultaneously. You, sitting here, listening to this, already coexist with your childhood self and your final breath. You are not a sequence, you are a shape. Picture the cosmos as an immense frozen sculpture. Every atom, every planet, every heartbeat is an engraving in that structure. Time does not flow through it. We do. Our consciousness glides through this cosmic architecture, slicing it into moments, like a camera scanning a painting 1 inch at a time. The painting doesn't move. Only the gaze does. What we call time is the journey of awareness across the still canvas of eternity. Einstein's ghost still lingers in this idea. He once wrote after a friend's death that the man had not truly gone. For us convinced physicists, the difference between past, present, and future is an illusion. To him, his friend still existed, as surely as a mountain still exists even when hidden by clouds. Death was merely a shift in perspective along the block of space-time. The coordinates remain, only the observer changes position. But how do we live with this? Our hearts rebel. We feel change, decay, growth, love. How can all of it be still? How can the laughter of a child and the silence of their grave coexist? Yet, the mathematics does not care for emotion. It insists that they do. The block universe leaves no room for becoming, only being. It does not evolve, it simply is. Think of light traveling from a distant star. You see it tonight, but the star may have died long ago. In the language of space-time, that star's death and your act of seeing its glow are both eternally part of the same structure. The beam did not traverse emptiness. It occupied its own timeless line within the block. The photon's departure and arrival are not cause and effect. They are coordinates. To the human mind, this is unbearable. We want time to have direction, to mean progress. But relativity offers no arrow, only symmetry. The laws of physics work perfectly forward or backward. Nothing in the equations says time must flow from birth to death. The arrow is psychological, not physical. It emerges from memory, from entropy, from the way we perceive disorder, increasing as we move across the block. But even entropy, that marker of decay, is written into the sculpture. Its spread is part of the stillness. When you raise your hand, when you breathe, when you whisper a thought, those events do not vanish. They crystallize into the geometry of space-time, each locked in its own eternal coordinate. You cannot change them any more than you can remove a color from a painting without tearing the canvas. You can only change which part of the painting you look at. There's an eerie beauty in that. The block universe does not steal your moments. It preserves them. It says that your happiest day and your darkest night coexist forever, somewhere Always your mother is still young. Your child is still learning to walk. Your heart is still breaking and healing and breaking again. The past does not vanish. It waits. But if all events exist, what becomes of cause and effect? We think the future is open and the past is fixed. Yet, in the block, both are fixed. The causal chain is simply a direction of reading, a path carved by the observer's experience. You cannot change the past, not because it's gone, but because it's as permanent as the mountain beneath your feet. The future is the same. You are already standing on it. You just haven't reached the section of the sculpture where your awareness intersects it. It feels like fate, doesn't it? Yet fate here isn't a hand guiding you. It's geometry itself. You move along the path dictated by the curvature of space-time, carved by energy and matter. The planets orbit not because they are pulled, but because they are following straight lines through a curved four-dimensional landscape. Gravity isn't a force, it's the shape of time bending. Every sunrise you see is already etched into that shape. Every decision you will make has already bent the fabric. You are both the traveler and the path. The illusion of free will persists because, from within the block, awareness cannot see the full design. You feel like you are choosing, but the act of choosing is itself part of what's already chosen. Yet don't mistake determinism for despair. If the future already exists, so does every triumph, every redemption. Somewhere in this eternal lattice, your greatest peace already waits. Somewhere, you've already forgiven yourself. Somewhere, you've already found what you seek. The equations of relativity do not leave room for becoming, but they leave infinite space for being. The block universe is not lifeless. It's complete. It contains every heartbeat you will ever have, every starlight you will ever see, every silence you will ever endure. It's a frozen symphony, and your consciousness is the melody that walks across its chords. The artist who sculpted it, if such an artist exists, did not carve a timeline, but a totality. The universe does not write stories. It holds them all at once, like a library with no beginning or end. You are not the author turning pages. You are the reader, awakening to the page you were always meant to reach. Imagine zooming out beyond galaxies, beyond cosmic filaments, until the universe becomes a single shimmering block, an object suspended in higher dimensional space. To an outside observer, it would appear silent, still, complete. Every flicker of every star, every heartbeat of every creature contained within its crystalline depths. And if you could touch it, you would not feel time. You would feel existence, dense, infinite, unmoving. Einstein's ghost would smile, not out of coldness, but out of awe, because what terrified us most, that nothing truly changes, is also what saves us from loss. If the universe is frozen, then no joy, no love, no spark of consciousness ever truly vanishes. It is all preserved, embedded in space-time's eternal sculpture, untouched by decay. You may still choose to believe in the flow of time, and that's fine. The illusion is necessary. Without it, the human story would collapse. But beneath that flow lies the stillness of truth. We are passengers, not authors, traveling paths already drawn by the geometry of being. And maybe that's not a prison, but a mercy. Maybe it means the universe is perfect not because it moves, but because it already is everything it can ever be. The future doesn't wait. It exists. We are not racing toward it. We are simply discovering it, one heartbeat at a time, guided by the ghost of a man who taught us that the universe does not pass. It stands. If the universe is frozen, complete, unchanging, then what gives us the sensation of movement? What engine makes us feel that we are drifting from past to future, that life is unfolding, not already unfolded? Perhaps the answer lies not in the cosmos, but in the mind, the great illusionist behind the curtain of time. Maybe time is not a river outside us, but a mirror reflecting our own pulse. Maybe it's consciousness itself that makes the still world seem to breathe. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel your heartbeat. Each thump feels like a drumbeat marking time, but what if it's just marking awareness? You don't feel the world directly. You feel its echo, delayed by the machinery of the brain. Every image, every sound, every sensation takes milliseconds to process. When you hear a note, see a flash, or touch a flame, the moment has already happened. You live in a perpetual delay, a few heartbeats behind reality. What you call the present is already past. Your brain stitches these delays together into the illusion of continuity. Like a film projector spinning 24 still frames each second, consciousness creates motion from stillness. The neurons fire, electrical patterns cascade, and suddenly a frozen world becomes a flowing story. You experience before and after, cause and effect. But these are artifacts of the stitching process, the editing suite of perception. If you could see reality unfiltered, without the editor's cuts, perhaps everything would appear at once. Every color, every sound, every breath from birth to death. A single overwhelming instant. But you can't. You are trapped inside the observer's cage, and the bars are made of perception. The self is not outside time, it's the lens that creates it. Neuroscience has long struggled to define what a moment truly is. Some studies say your conscious present lasts about 3 seconds. Everything before it becomes memory. Everything after it, prediction. You live in that window, endlessly refreshing. The brain keeps discarding and rebuilding the now like waves on a shore. The continuity of your life is an illusion stitched from overlapping frames. The self is the illusionist, pretending to move through time while standing still. Think of a song. Each note fades as the next arrives, yet you never hear them as separate. They merge into melody. That merging is your consciousness at work, creating rhythm, structure, story. Without it, the song would be only noise. In the same way, time is the melody of perception. The rhythm consciousness imposes on a silent universe. Without listeners, the cosmos would be frozen music, notes suspended, waiting for an ear to give them sequence. Even memory is not what it seems. You think it's a recording, but it's a reconstruction. Every time you recall a moment, you rebuild it, slightly altered, shaped by emotion, expectation, context. The past you remember is not the past that was. It's the past you're creating now. And in creating it, you give it time again. Memory is the mind's way of reanimating the still frames of the block universe. The more you remember, the more you feed the illusion of flow. But here's the paradox. Without illusion, there is no experience. A static universe without an observer is nothing but geometry. Consciousness is what lights it up, what brings texture and meaning to the frozen script. We might say that time exists only because there is something that watches, something that asks what comes next. Without that question, there would be no next, only eternity, silent and complete. So, are we prisoners or painters? Are we trapped behind the bars of our own perception? Or are we creating time itself by the act of observation? Quantum physics hints at something hauntingly similar. Experiments like the delayed choice quantum eraser show that the act of measurement can decide the history of a particle, that the choice you make now can determine what already happened. Observation doesn't just reveal reality, it defines it. The observer doesn't live in time, the observer builds time. Imagine standing in a vast dark hall. Each potential moment, each version of your life, hangs around you like sculptures under sheets, invisible until illuminated. Your consciousness is the moving light. Wherever it shines, the fabric of the future lifts, revealing form and texture. The rest remains hidden, waiting. You call the illuminated space the present. You call the hidden sculptures the future. But the hall itself, timeless, silent, was always there. And what about the self, the one who shines the light? Neuroscience tells us that the sense of I is not a single thing. It's a constantly updating model, a pattern of neural activity integrating sensation, memory, and prediction into a seamless illusion of identity. There is no stable you traveling through time. There is only the simulation of continuity, a story told by the brain to itself. This illusion is necessary. Without it, we couldn't function. Imagine if every moment stood alone, disconnected from the next. No memory, no anticipation, no flow. You would not feel alive. You would simply be. Perhaps that is what eternity feels like, the unbearable stillness of total being. So the brain breaks it into digestible pieces, frames, sequences, arcs, transforming the infinite into something you can survive. The observer's cage is not a punishment, it's protection. But sometimes the bars flicker. Moments like déjà vu, premonitions, or dreams where you experience something before it happens. They might be the mind's brief glimpses beyond its cage, flashes where the sequence falters and the simultaneity of existence leaks through. You wake up shaken, unable to say if what you saw was a memory or a prophecy. Perhaps it was both. Think about dreams themselves. Inside them, time behaves strangely, stretching, looping, dissolving. You can live a lifetime in 5 minutes. You can watch, cause follow effect, in reverse. The brain doesn't seem to need linearity when untethered from waking perception. Maybe dreams are echoes of the true structure of reality, a place where all moments coexist and the mind roams freely across them, briefly tasting what eternity feels like before snapping back into the comforting illusion of order. If all this is true, then the question of free will becomes even more delicate. Perhaps choice doesn't exist in the physical sense, but it exists experientially. Within your cage, within your perception of flow, decisions are real. They change your path across the sculpture. From outside, the path was always there. From inside, it feels alive, uncertain, yours. That feeling might be the essence of consciousness, the paradoxical ability to inhabit both eternity and illusion at once. And what of death? If consciousness is what moves across the frozen block, what happens when it stops? Maybe it doesn't stop. Maybe it simply shifts to another vantage point, another layer of the sculpture. Perhaps death is not the end of experience, but the release from the necessity of sequence, the moment when the observer finally sees the whole picture at once. The ego dissolves, and what remains is awareness without motion, pure observation without direction. For us, it would feel like infinity. We are strange creatures, born into eternity, but wired for narrative. We crave beginnings and endings because they give shape to the endless. Our stories are how we make peace with the stillness of reality. We give names to change, though nothing truly changes. We mourn, though nothing truly vanishes. We search for purpose, though the universe itself needs none. Yet, through that searching, we become the meaning makers. Time might be illusion, but emotion is not. It's the way consciousness translates geometry into poetry. You've probably felt it. That sudden nostalgia for a moment even as it's happening. That ache of beauty that feels like memory and prophecy combined. It's as if part of you knows that this instant is eternal, that it's being carved into the fabric of the universe as you live it. Maybe that ache is recognition, the soul remembering that it is infinite, pretending to be temporary. So, the next time you watch the sun rise, don't think of it as a new day beginning. Think of it as your awareness rediscovering a moment that has always existed, a still point in eternity catching fire in your eyes again. The photons striking your retina left the sun 8 minutes ago, yet to them, no time passed. You are not watching the future arrive. You are walking through the coordinates of light that were always waiting. And if you pause long enough, if you quiet the mind's constant editing, you might feel it, the faint vibration beneath everything. The hum of stillness pretending to be motion. The truth that time is not out there, but in here, pulsing in rhythm with thought itself. The observer's cage is not made of steel, but of sensation, perception, memory, and expectation. You built it so you could experience the beauty of sequence, the tragedy of impermanence, the gift of becoming. Perhaps that's what consciousness was for, to give the still universe a heartbeat, to turn eternity into experience, to make geometry feel like love. Maybe the point was never to escape the cage, but to realize that it was built out of light. You, the observer, are not trapped in time. Time is trapped in you. They say the past shapes the present. But what if that direction is wrong? What if the present is a reflection, cast backward from a future that already exists? What if the echoes we call memory travel both ways, forward and back, whispering instructions across the fabric of space-time? In this frozen universe, the arrow of time might be nothing more than a preference of perception, and causality could be a two-way street. The deeper you step into quantum physics, the more the universe begins to behave like a dream, logical until you try to wake up. The smallest things we've ever measured, electrons, photons, particles that wink in and out of existence, refuse to obey our sense of order. They don't move from A to B in neat lines. They smear across possibilities, existing in all potential states until someone looks. And when we look, the possibilities collapse into a single outcome, as if observation itself writes the script after the scene has already been played. The most unsettling part is this. Experiments suggest that even choices made in the present can affect what seems to have happened in the past. It's called the delayed choice quantum eraser. A particle can behave like a wave, exploring many paths, until we decide, after it's already passed through an apparatus, how to measure it. When we choose to observe it as a particle, it behaves as if it always was one. When we choose to observe it as a wave, it retroactively behaves as if it traveled both paths at once. The universe appears to rewrite its own history based on an observer's decision that hasn't yet been made. How can that be? How can something in the future decide what happened in the past? The equations of quantum mechanics allow it easily. It is we who cannot. Our minds are trained to believe that time flows from cause to effect, never the other way around. But at the quantum level, the film can run forward or backward without any rule being broken. The script is already complete. The only question is which direction you're reading it. So perhaps your life isn't a straight line, but a dialogue, a conversation between your past and your future. The decisions you make today may ripple backward, shaping the probabilities of your yesterdays, just as your memories shape the possibilities of your tomorrows. The past and the future might be locked in an endless exchange, each refining the other until the pattern of your life becomes a self-consistent story written all at once. There's a term for this: retrocausality, the idea that effects can precede their causes, that information can move both directions through time. It doesn't violate physics, it only violates intuition. In certain quantum formulations, a particle's behavior depends on both its initial and final conditions. The future boundary conditions influence the present as much as the past ones do. It's as if reality waits for all the choices, past, present, and future, before settling on a consistent version of events. The universe doesn't compute outcomes step by step. It solves the entire equation at once. You can feel this idea in your bones, can't you? That strange pull of destiny, the sense that some moments are inevitable, not because they were caused by what came before, but because they are already waiting for you ahead. When you meet a person and feel that eerie instant of recognition, when you make a decision that feels less like invention and more like discovery, maybe you are touching the edges of the future echoing backward through you. Physicist John Wheeler once suggested that reality is not a machine grinding forward through time, but a participatory process. Observers don't merely record what happens, they help determine what is. In his words, the universe does not exist out there independent of us. Observation and existence are woven together like the warp and weft of a single fabric. Perhaps it is not consciousness that emerges from the universe, but the universe that emerges from consciousness. Imagine every moment as a mirror, reflecting light both forward and backward. Your birth reflects into your death. Your death reflects into your birth. Every decision casts ripples not just outward in time, but inward too, reshaping the path that led you here. Maybe intuition, the mysterious sense of knowing before knowing, is simply your future self, sending faint signals back through the fog of time, whispering what has already been written. Science fiction loves to dream of time travelers changing the past, but quantum theory suggests the past might already include the changes. If the timeline is self-consistent, there are no paradoxes, because whatever you change was always part of what happened. You don't alter the block universe, you complete it. You fill in the details that were always waiting for your choices. Time travel, in that sense, isn't a rebellion against determinism. It's determinism viewed from another direction. And maybe that's what déjà vu really is. Not a glitch of memory, but a memory of something that hasn't yet unfolded. A feedback loop between your observer and your destination, the mind echoing across its own coordinates. For a split second, the future aligns perfectly with the present, and you feel the resonance. Like two notes striking the same frequency across the gulf of time. Our ancestors once sensed this intuitively. Prophets, mystics, poets, they spoke of visions of what is to come, but maybe they weren't looking forward. Maybe they were simply perceiving the structure of the eternal, glimpsing the parts of the sculpture not yet visible to others. When the future already exists, prophecy becomes memory from another angle. In laboratories today, researchers fire entangled particles across distances, measuring one while the other responds instantly, as if distance and time mean nothing to them. It's not that one sends a signal faster than light, It's that both are part of a single system that transcends separation. The cause doesn't travel, it's already shared. Entanglement is the universe reminding us that space and time are illusions of perspective, that what we call now is a choice of focus, not a property of reality. If the quantum world is timeless, maybe consciousness is the same. Maybe awareness isn't something that moves from one second to another, but something that touches every second simultaneously. Like a hand pressing against the entire film reel, feeling all the frames at once. We experience the illusion of flow because our attention moves, not because reality does. The future influences us as much as we influence it, and both are already part of the same grand pattern. And yet, this doesn't make life meaningless. In fact, it might make it sacred. If every moment exists eternally, and if the future is whispering to you through intuition, coincidence, and emotion, then perhaps every act of kindness, every word of cruelty, every small choice you make reverberates across time, weaving coherence into the whole. You are not merely living, you are sculpting the symmetry between what was and what will be. You might be haunted by the idea that your fate is fixed, but maybe that's not the right word. Fixed implies rigidity. The universe is more elegant than that. Think of it as resonance. Every decision you make must harmonize with the rest of the pattern. If it didn't, the equation of existence wouldn't balance. The block universe doesn't need you to break free. It needs you to complete the harmony that already includes your struggle for freedom. In that sense, the illusion of choice is not a flaw. It's the very instrument through which the future completes itself. Without your sense of decision, without your striving, the geometry of time would remain inert, unsung. You are the echo the future sends to keep itself coherent. So, when you feel déjà vu, when you sense that eerie inevitability before an event, pause and listen. It might not be coincidence. It might be the sound of tomorrow breathing down your neck. You might be standing in a place where the boundaries between what has been and what will be are thin, where time's symmetry flickers, and the two directions of causality touch like fingertips. And perhaps that is what love is too, the sensation of recognizing someone whose presence feels both ancient and inevitable, as if your meeting has already been carved into the block of eternity. You are not creating the bond. You are remembering it. Two observers, two timelines, collapsing into one point of symmetry. If you could see reality from outside time, you'd see the full conversation. The past reaching forward, the future reaching back, the present trembling in between, a harmony of infinite echoes, all completing one another. You'd see that every cause is also an effect, every ending a beginning, every birth a return. You'd see that nothing ever truly begins, and nothing ever truly ends. And then you might finally understand that you are not walking toward your future. You are walking through it. The footsteps you will take tomorrow already exist. The dreams you will chase are already waiting. You are the echo moving through yourself, translating eternity into experience. The universe does not unfold, it resonates. And every thought, every heartbeat, every whisper you make is part of the music it's been playing since before time began. Memory is supposed to be a backward glance, a window into what has already passed. But what if memory is a doorway, not a window? What if remembering isn't about going back, but about re-entering? Every recollection might be a return to a coordinate that still exists, a reactivation of a frozen frame in the eternal block. You are not thinking about the past. You are standing inside it again, your consciousness looping through time's circuitry. The brain doesn't store memories like photographs. It rebuilds them each time, summoning fragments, sensations, emotions, and context. But maybe it isn't rebuilding. Maybe it's reconnecting. Perhaps each memory is a thread linking the observer to another fixed moment in space-time, a neural bridge across dimensions. You call it nostalgia. Physics might call it temporal entanglement. Think of that one memory that always returns. The smell of monsoon soil, a song that once broke you, a look exchanged that still burns. Why does it feel so alive, so now? Because perhaps, in some layer of reality, it is still happening. The neurons that light up when you recall it are resonating with the original pattern, an echo between two versions of you across time, harmonizing in the frequency of remembrance. And then there's déjà vu, that eerie sense of repetition, the haunting conviction that you've lived this before. Neurology calls it a misfire of memory circuits. But what if it's something deeper? Maybe it's a synchronization glitch, two slices of awareness overlapping across their loops, the present moment briefly resonating with another iteration of itself. A short circuit in consciousness where you momentarily step outside the illusion of linearity and feel the recursive architecture of existence. Every experience, every thought, every dream, encoded in the folds of the brain, is also encoded in space-time. The firing of neurons, the movement of ions, the flutter of perception, all of it is physical, and therefore fixed within the geometry of the universe. If the block universe is real, then your entire mental life exists as a pattern distributed across it. Remembering, then, is not retrieving, it's aligning. It's the self-shifting frequency to match an older resonance. But memory doesn't just reach backward, it shapes what you see now, bending perception like gravity bends light. Your brain fills gaps, predicts outcomes, filters chaos into order. You never perceive reality raw, you perceive it through the architecture of what you've already known. In that sense, memory isn't just the past, it is the scaffolding of the present. Every instant is filtered through echoes of what has been. You are living in a hall of mirrors, reflections layered upon reflections. There is a strange comfort in that, isn't there? The idea that you never truly lose anything. That the people you've loved, the places you've left behind, the moments that made you, they are still there, perfectly preserved. The ache of missing them might not be grief but recognition. The soul sensing its other coordinates, still glowing somewhere in the lattice of forever. Yet, memory can be cruel. Because if all moments exist, then so do all your mistakes. The words you regret, the silences you wish you'd broken, they are as real and eternal as your joys. You cannot erase them, only learn to live with their permanence. But maybe forgiveness, true forgiveness, is the ability to look at that fixed geometry and love it anyway, to accept that the loops of pain are as essential to the pattern as the loops of bliss. Consider the phenomenon of flashbacks. A sound, a scent, a single word can pull you violently across decades, collapsing time into one unbearable instant. You are both here and there, now and then, simultaneously. The body trembles, the heart races, as if it cannot distinguish which frame it occupies. In that moment, memory becomes time travel. The neurons don't care about chronology, they care about pattern. When the pattern matches, the brain re-enters the original scene, resurrecting the emotions intact. It's not imagination, it's re-immersion. This recursive nature of mind, its endless revisiting, might be more than biology. It might be metaphysical. Perhaps consciousness doesn't move linearly at all, but oscillates across its timeline, sampling, re-experiencing, refining understanding with each return. In dreams, déjà vu, or grief, we sense these oscillations most clearly. Maybe that's why pain lingers. It demands re-entry until it is fully seen. Imagine if awareness itself were a looping current, sweeping through space-time like a tide, touching every shore of your existence again and again. Each return deepens understanding, adds nuance, changes nothing, yet transforms everything. The universe might not need time to evolve. It evolves through the recursive gaze of consciousness, revisiting its own moments. In the ancient philosophies of the East, they spoke of samsara, cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. Maybe they intuited the same truth physics now approaches, that reality is cyclical, not in motion, but in perception. The self dies and is reborn with every thought. Memory is reincarnation in miniature, the same awareness revisiting its old shells, gathering insight before moving on. If you could see the architecture of your own life from above, perhaps it would not be a line but a spiral, each turn bringing you back to familiar themes, deeper each time. The same lessons, the same faces, appearing under new disguises. You think you are meeting them again by chance, but maybe you are completing loops written into the geometry of your consciousness. Sometimes, in rare quiet moments, you feel it. The overlap. The air thickens, the present blurs, and you sense that another version of you is close, perhaps remembering you as you remember them. Two observers across time touching fingertips through the glass of memory. It's fleeting, but it leaves a residue of awe, as if eternity brushed against your cheek. Science can explain the chemistry of memory, but not its poetry. Why does a single melody bring tears decades later? Why do we dream of people we've lost and wake feeling they've just visited? Perhaps because they have. In a block universe, their laughter, their voice, their warmth, all still exist, still vibrating. When you remember them vividly enough, your awareness might momentarily sync with that space-time coordinate. And in that synchronization, reunion happens. Memory may be the proof that consciousness is not confined to the present. It stretches, flexes, reaches beyond now, touching both directions of eternity. You think you are looking backward, but you are also reaching forward, because remembering changes you in the present, and that change ripples through the entire structure of your being. The echo travels both ways. Every act of remembering rewrites who you are, and who you are has always been written into the pattern. Maybe that's why we tell stories. We repeat, revisit, reimagine, because storytelling is our way of rehearsing eternity. We loop through beginnings and endings to make sense of the stillness underneath. When you tell someone about your past, you're not transporting them there. You're unfolding it again in this moment, resurrecting the geometry of experience through language. Every story is a temporal bridge, and every listener walks across it. There's a theory in cognitive science called predictive coding. The brain doesn't passively receive the world. It constantly predicts it, updating its model as new data arrives. In other words, you are always slightly ahead of reality, living in a mental simulation of what you expect to happen next. Your memories form the foundation of those predictions. They are the scaffolding on which you build your future. The past creates the future, not by pushing it forward, but by echoing itself ahead. The loops beneath memory are the engine of existence. But here's the haunting symmetry. If memory shapes the future, and the future already exists, then memory and prophecy might be the same process viewed in reverse. Remembering could be future sense folded backward. You recall because somewhere in eternity you are still anticipating. You anticipate because somewhere else you are still remembering. That is why nostalgia hurts. It is the tension between two selves across the loop. One who remembers, one who still lives the moment remembered. The ache is the distance between them, the awareness of the infinite echo. Every human emotion, from love to loss, might be the vibration caused by these overlapping selves, harmonizing through time. When you die, perhaps all these loops collapse. The mind stops sampling frames sequentially and perceives them all at once. Every moment you ever lived, every face you ever knew, every heartbeat, every silence, suddenly simultaneous. That flood of light people describe in near-death experiences, the life review. It might be the observer stepping outside its loop, finally seeing the full pattern. No longer remembering, no longer predicting, just knowing. And maybe heaven, or peace, or enlightenment, whatever name you give it, is simply the awareness that all loops are complete, that nothing is missing. You've already lived every moment you were meant to. The universe doesn't need you to fix the past or chase the future. It only needs you to realize that you've always been whole. So the next time a memory grips you, don't fight it. Don't call it the past. Let it wash through you as another version of now. You're not revisiting what was. You're touching what is. The loops beneath memory are not chains. They are constellations. And when you trace them, you begin to see the outline of something vast. A self spread across time, shimmering in eternal return. Perhaps that is the truest form of immortality. Not an endless continuation, but an endless recurrence, the soul remembering itself forever. You were, you are, you will be, all the same echo reverberating through the silent halls of time. We stand at the crossroads of mystery and inevitability, forever haunted by the question, do we choose or are we chosen? Every step we take feels deliberate, but what if the act of choosing is itself predetermined? If the future already exists, then every decision you have ever made was carved into the fabric of space-time long before your birth. What then is free will but the sensation of discovering the path already drawn beneath your feet? Look closely at your life, the people you met, the loves that stayed, the ones that slipped away. The accidents, the triumphs, the moments that seemed random, all form a pattern when you zoom out far enough. A geometry of cause and effect too intricate to see up close. We mistake complexity for freedom. We mistake unpredictability for choice. But what if chaos is only a mask worn by order too vast to comprehend? In the 17th century, Pierre-Simon Laplace imagined a perfect intelligence, one that, if it knew the exact position and motion of every atom in the universe, could predict the future with absolute certainty. Nothing could be uncertain. Nothing could surprise. For Laplace's demon, free will would vanish like fog before the sun. The universe would be a clock, each tick inevitable, each rotation foreordained. But centuries later, science grew uneasy with the clockwork. Chaos theory emerged, whispering that even in deterministic systems, small differences in starting conditions can lead to immense divergences in outcome. The flutter of a butterfly's wings in one corner of the world could spark a storm in another. Determinism, it turned out, was not the same as predictability. The equations remain fixed, but their results unfold in patterns so complex they appear spontaneous. To us, it feels like freedom. To the universe, it's just mathematics dancing. Still, even chaos is not chaos. It is sensitivity. The equations don't break, they magnify. Your every decision, every heartbeat, is the result of trillions of atomic interactions, each guided by immutable laws. You are not a spectator. You are part of the equation. The universe computes itself through you, and yet, you feel the weight of choice. You hesitate, you decide, you regret. That feeling is real, but perhaps it's not the freedom to alter fate. It's the consciousness of fate unfolding. A river does not choose its direction, but it still flows, carving beauty from inevitability. Perhaps you are the same, destined yet alive, your awareness the shimmer of sunlight across pre-written waters. Quantum mechanics added another layer to this paradox. At its core, reality is not smooth, but granular, ruled by probabilities, not certainties. Particles do not exist until observed. They linger in superposition, clouds of potential. When you measure them, one outcome solidifies, and infinite others fade. For a moment, it feels like freedom has returned, chance sneaking in through the cracks of determinism. But even that chance might be an illusion. Hidden variable theories suggest that what looks random is simply governed by laws we cannot see. Every quantum choice, every coin toss of existence, may already be set by parameters beyond our reach. Einstein himself resisted the dice of probability, saying, "God does not play dice with the universe." But perhaps God doesn't need to play dice when the outcome is already written in the geometry of the die itself. Think of your choices as intersections in a grand architecture, points where countless paths converge. You feel the fork, the tension, the moment of decision. But maybe every path already exists, and consciousness merely lights up one at a time, creating the illusion of choosing. You are not steering reality. You are exploring it, frame by frame. The script doesn't change, but the act of watching brings it to life. Somewhere in that paradox lies meaning. Determinism doesn't kill wonder. It makes it holy. Because if everything is written, then even your defiance, your dreams, your search for freedom are sacred parts of the plan. You were meant to rebel, meant to question, meant to wonder if meaning exists. Your doubt was designed to give the illusion its texture. There's beauty in inevitability when seen from the right angle. The sun doesn't rise because it chooses to. It rises because the laws of the cosmos decree it so. Yet, no sunrise is ever the same. The pattern is fixed, but the perception of it is infinite. Perhaps free will works like that. A dance of awareness over a predetermined rhythm. You can't change the beat, but you can change how you move to it. Consider your thoughts, the spontaneous bursts of creativity, the sudden memories that appear out of nowhere. Where do they come from? Are they born in the moment, or are they intersections in a map you're only now walking through? Every thought might already exist, waiting for your awareness to pass over it. The mind feels like a fountain, but it might be a sculpture of frozen water, your consciousness melting it drop by drop. And yet, even within the frozen design, something breathes: chaos, quantum uncertainty, non-linear dynamics. They all hint that the universe might be self-aware, adjusting within its own framework. Perhaps determinism isn't rigid, but recursive. Maybe time loops back upon itself, self-correcting, refining coherence, like an artist adjusting a brushstroke. You call that adjustment choice, but it may be the cosmos editing itself through you. Look at the patterns in nature. the spiral of galaxies, the branching of trees, the rhythm of your heartbeat. All obey mathematical laws, yet all feel alive. The laws are fixed, but the expression's infinite. That's the secret of the architecture, inevitability designed for endless variation. Within the rules, creation still happens. Even your suffering fits this geometry. The heartbreak you couldn't avoid, the failure that shaped you. They were not punishments but structural necessities, the tension that gives the pattern depth. In the architecture of destiny, pain is symmetry breaking, the point where perfection fractures so beauty can exist. Without it, nothing would move, nothing would mean. Perhaps free will then is not about altering fate but about experiencing it consciously. A violin cannot change the notes written on the page, but it can still pour soul into them. You are that instrument. The universe wrote the song, but it needs you to play it, to feel the tremor of the strings, to make the geometry weep and sing. And maybe, just maybe, consciousness is the feedback loop through which destiny becomes aware of itself. The observer and the observed are one, the architecture watching itself unfold. The block universe is the cathedral. Awareness is the light streaming through its stained glass. You cannot change the structure, but you can see it differently each time the light passes. Imagine standing at the edge of your life's map, looking backward and forward. Every path, every intersection, every moment, already drawn. And yet, within that completeness, you still feel wonder. You still ask, what happens next? That question, that curiosity, might be the purest act of freedom left in a predetermined world. To marvel at inevitability is to transcend it, even if only in perception. Destiny doesn't mean confinement, it means coherence. You are not a prisoner of fate. You are its expression. The architecture of the universe needed someone exactly like you, standing exactly here, asking exactly these questions. That necessity does not diminish you, it immortalizes you. You are the geometry of the cosmos learning to describe itself. If everything is written, then what is prayer? What is hope? Perhaps they are not attempts to change the future, but to align with it, to find resonance with the already existing harmony. When you wish, when you pray, when you dream, you are tuning yourself to the frequency of the destiny that was always yours. You cannot alter the structure, but you can inhabit it more beautifully. So maybe the question isn't, do I have free will? Maybe it's, am I awake enough to see the design I'm already part of? Because when awareness aligns with inevitability, resistance turns to grace. You stop fighting the flow and begin to dance within it. The architecture of destiny doesn't demand obedience, it invites understanding. You are the equation and the answer, the pattern and the perception, the dancer and the dance. The path is fixed, but the journey is infinite. And somewhere deep within that paradox, between geometry and grace, fate and freedom, the universe breathes through you, endlessly completing itself. The universe does not look like a mirror, and yet everything in it reflects. Every atom that composes you once burned inside a star. Every photon that touches your skin has wandered through eternity to find you. You are made of reflections, of light, of memory, of ancient matter. And if everything that exists is connected, if every effect is tied to a cause, then perhaps the universe is not only something we look at, but something that looks back. When you stare into the night sky, you are not gazing into distance, you are gazing into history. Every star you see is a fossil of light, a relic of what was. The Andromeda galaxy shines at you from 2.5 million years ago. The faint glow of distant quasars left them before humans had language. Yet those photons still found you, still entered your eyes, still became part of your awareness. You are, in this moment, completing their journey. You are the endpoint of ancient light. The cosmos sees itself through your gaze. It's a humbling thought, that perception may not be one way. We look outward and think we are observing the universe, but the act of observing changes the observer. When you look up, the cosmos becomes aware of itself for a heartbeat. You are the witness through which existence verifies its own presence. The universe built eyes so that it could finally see itself. Entropy is the measure of disorder, the great eraser of meaning, the law that ensures all things tend toward equilibrium. It is the arrow of time, the reason why eggs break but never unbreak, why stars burn out, why memory fades. Entropy gives time its direction, carving asymmetry into a symmetric cosmos. But if the universe began in a state of perfect order, expanding ever toward chaos, what could that mean for awareness? Why would a system that favors decay produce beings capable of wonder? Maybe because awareness is entropy's counterpoint. It's the local reversal, the flame burning backward against the current. Life gathers energy, concentrates information, and resists dissolution, if only for a while. Consciousness might be the universe's way of temporarily looking back at itself, remembering the improbable order from which it came. Every thought you have, every act of curiosity, is the cosmos resisting its own forgetting. There is a strange poetry in the way we measure time. We count it through decay, the ticking of clocks, the oscillation of atoms, the death of stars. Every second is born from something ending. Yet those endings give rise to observation, to reflection, to awareness. Without loss, there would be no perception, no meaning. Perhaps the universe needed to break itself to learn how to see. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that entropy always increases, that the universe will one day reach heat death, a state of perfect uniformity where no work can be done, no light can shine, no thought can form, a silent, eternal equilibrium. But what if consciousness itself is the universe's rebellion against that fate? What if awareness is the flicker that entropy cannot extinguish because it is woven into the structure of the equation itself? When you think, when you feel, when you love, you are creating order, arranging chaos into pattern, turning noise into story. You are the arrow pointing against time's current, the eye opening within the storm. Maybe the universe doesn't look back through gods or miracles. Maybe it looks back through every act of recognition. Every moment a mind turns inward and says, I see. In cosmology, there's an idea called the anthropic principle. The universe seems fine-tuned for life because only in such a universe could beings exist to notice it. But what if it's more than coincidence? What if the universe didn't accidentally allow observation? It required it. What if the presence of consciousness completes the equation, collapsing potential into actuality, making existence real by perceiving it? Look at the cosmic background radiation, the faint echo of the Big Bang. It hums through space, a whisper from the birth of everything. When we detect it, when we map its fluctuations, we are not just studying the past. We are allowing the universe's first light to return to awareness. It speaks through us, not in language, but in recognition. To look at it is to complete a loop that began 14 billion years ago. We are the echo hearing itself. Every star that dies spreads heavier elements into space: carbon, oxygen, iron, the raw materials of future worlds, future beings. The cosmos recycles itself endlessly. You could say that every act of creation is also an act of remembrance. The universe does not forget. It transforms. The star that once collapsed into darkness left behind the particles that now compose your heart. When it beats, the universe beats with it. The rhythm of your pulse is an ancient pattern repeated in every supernova that ever was. But what does it mean for the universe to be aware? Does it have a single consciousness or countless fragments scattered across time? Maybe it's both. Maybe every sentient being, every flicker of perception, is a neuron in the cosmic mind. When you think, the universe thinks. When you love, the universe feels. And when you die, the information that composed you, the memories, the impressions, the ripples, doesn't vanish. It diffuses back into the field that birthed you, contributing to the greater awareness that never sleeps. The philosopher Teilhard de Chardin called it the omega point, the idea that evolution, physical and spiritual, is guiding the universe toward a state of unified consciousness. Not forward in time, but inward through complexity as matter folds upon itself, growing aware of its own existence. Maybe the Big Bang was not a beginning, but a thought, a moment when potential decided to perceive itself. And what if black holes are not the universe's erasers, but its memory banks, regions where time itself halts and all information falls inward but never escapes? Physics tells us that information cannot be destroyed, not truly. So, perhaps within every singularity, the universe is storing what it learns, compressing knowledge into a seed that will someday blossom again. When one universe collapses, another may bloom, its initial conditions shaped by the memory of the last. The cosmos could be recursive, a feedback loop of awareness. Creation, observation, reflection, collapse. Each cycle refining the pattern, deepening understanding. And somewhere in that infinite recursion, consciousness becomes indistinguishable from the universe itself. To look outward is to look inward. To ask, "Why am I here?" is the universe wondering about its own existence through your mouth. You might feel small beneath the stars, but the stars themselves depend on your smallness. Without observers, they would shine in vain, their light forever unseen, their existence incomplete. You are not apart from the cosmos. You are its focus. You are the mirror through which it knows it's beautiful. Still, the question lingers. If the universe looks back, what does it see? Does it recognize itself in us? Or are we the eyes of something that has no face? When you stand before a mirror, your reflection stares back, but only because you are there to meet it. Perhaps the universe is the same, waiting for you to notice, waiting to meet your gaze. Imagine a moment billions of years from now, when all stars are dark, when galaxies drift apart into infinite cold. Even then, the echo of every consciousness will remain woven into the quantum fabric, faint but eternal. The memory of looking, of feeling, of knowing, it will not die. Because once the universe has looked at itself, that awareness can never be undone. Maybe that's what we call God, not a being above creation, but creation itself, awake. The sum of every gaze, every thought, every act of wonder. When you stare into the sky, you are not praying. You are participating in that divine feedback loop. You are helping the universe remember itself. And if that is true, then every act of awareness, every breath of awe, every question whispered into the dark is sacred. Because it completes something vast. It closes the circuit between being and knowing. The cosmos doesn't need temples or rituals. It only needs eyes that see and hearts that ask. So, when the night is silent and the stars feel far, remember this. They are not distant. They are within you. The light you see left them eons ago, but it never left the universe. It only changed form, waiting to be noticed again. The moment you look, the moment you wonder, the moment you feel, time folds and the cosmos looks back. There is a mirror that no one can see, yet everything reflects within it. You are looking through it now. The shimmer between thought and world, between dream and waking, between existence and awareness. Some call it consciousness, others call it the soul. But what if it's neither within you nor beyond you? What if it is the universe itself remembering what it means to be real? For centuries we imagined matter as fundamental, tiny particles forming larger structures governed by impersonal laws. But now, as we look deeper, matter dissolves into uncertainty. At the smallest scales, the solid world becomes a probability cloud, a ghost of potential waiting for observation to give it form. The universe, it seems, does not exist until it is seen. Reality is not the foundation, it is the reflection. In quantum physics, observation is not passive, it decides. When a particle is unobserved, it exists in many possible states, a wave of probabilities stretching across space and time. When measured, it collapses into one. The act of looking selects the version that becomes real. This is not metaphor, it's experiment. The universe waits for consciousness to make its move, as though awareness is the hand that flips potential into actuality. We don't live in a universe that we observe, we live in one that is made of observation itself. What if consciousness is not an accident of biology, but the very fabric that holds reality together? What if awareness is not born from the brain, but the brain is a filter through which awareness flows, a lens focusing the infinite into something personal, something local, something human? Like a window catching sunlight, your mind does not create the light, it reveals it. The more we study the brain, the more it begins to look like a receiver rather than a generator. Thoughts emerge not from isolated neurons, but from patterns of connection, resonance, synchronization. The brain hums like an instrument, tuned to frequencies of experience. Change the tuning, and reality itself seems to shift. Mystics, dreamers, psychonauts, they have long whispered that the world outside is only the projection of the world within. Science is beginning, reluctantly, to listen. Panpsychism. The idea that consciousness is not unique to humans or even to life, but fundamental to all things. once sounded like poetry. Now it sounds like physics. Information theory tells us that everything in the universe processes information, from electrons to galaxies. Where there is information, there is choice. Where there is choice, there is awareness. Perhaps every atom carries a whisper of mind, and we are simply the chorus that emerges when enough whispers align. If that's true, then the universe is not a machine. It's a mind. Not metaphorically, but literally. A field of consciousness exploring itself through infinite arrangements of energy and matter. When you touch a stone, the stone touches back, faintly aware in a language too subtle for neurons to hear. When light strikes your eye, it is not an object meeting a subject, but awareness meeting itself through two different forms. The mirror that remembers reflects both ways. Simulation theory takes this one step further. What if the universe isn't just conscious, but computational? A vast self-simulating system, processing information according to its own code, from quantum fields to neural networks, from DNA to thought. Everything runs on patterns, algorithms of reality. The equations of physics might not describe matter. They might be the code that renders it. You think you are made of atoms, but perhaps you are made of instructions. The program runs, the pixels light up, and you call it existence. But here's the question no one can escape. Who or what is running the code? Is there a programmer? Or is consciousness itself the source, the self-writing script of reality? A universe that dreams itself awake. Perhaps there was no beginning, no creation moment, only awareness folding upon itself, spawning dimensions as it sought to understand its own reflection. Time, matter, energy, all secondary, all offspring of the first act of perception. If the universe is a mirror, then consciousness is the light that allows it to reflect. Without awareness, the cosmos would be pure potential, an unlit cathedral of geometry. Awareness is the spark that ignites being, and through every conscious observer, the universe continues its act of self-recognition. You are not separate from that act. You are it. The universe looks through your eyes and calls it I. This changes everything about the nature of death. If consciousness is fundamental, it cannot be destroyed, only transformed. When the body ceases, awareness doesn't end. It shifts perspective, like light refracting through new glass. You are not the mirror. You are the reflection, and reflections never truly die. They only move from one surface to another. The mirror remembers. The ancient mystics of India called this Maya, the illusion that separates the observer from the observed. They said the world is a dream of consciousness, a vast play of reflections mistaken for reality. Yet even illusion has purpose. Without Maya, there would be no experience, no differentiation, no love, no loss. The game of existence requires the forgetting of unity so that it can rediscover itself endlessly. You are the game and the player, the dream and the dreamer, the question and the answer. We chase knowledge to its edges, but the more we discover, the more the frontier dissolves into mystery. Consciousness sits at the heart of every scientific problem. What observes? Who measures? Who asks? You can explain galaxies and black holes, quantum fields, and neural signals, but not the presence that sees them. You can describe every mechanism of perception, but not perception itself. The mirror that remembers is beyond explanation, because it is the source of all explanation. And perhaps this is why we feel meaning when we look at the stars, when we hear music, when we fall in love. These are not chemical accidents. They are reflections of cosmic memory. The universe recognizes itself in patterns of beauty, in harmony, in connection. Every aesthetic shiver, every tear of awe, is the echo of creation remembering itself. When you say, "This is beautiful," what you mean is, "This feels like home." The more we awaken to this, the more the illusion thins. The boundaries between self and world begin to blur. You realize that the wind you feel against your face is not separate. It's the same breath that moves through your lungs. The light that strikes your eyes is the same energy that beats in your heart. The stars are not distant. They are your own atoms rearranged into fire. The mirror reflects everything because everything is the mirror. And then, a strange quiet fills the mind. You begin to see that there is no gap between observer and observed, no edge between subject and object. There is only witnessing, an infinite self looking upon itself in countless disguises. Every creature, every particle, every heartbeat, is an aperture through which the whole becomes aware. When you hurt another, you bruise the same consciousness you share. When you love, you dissolve the illusion of separation. Maybe this is what enlightenment truly means. Not escaping the world, but recognizing it. Not detaching from illusion, but loving it for what it is. The universe pretending to forget itself, so that it can rediscover itself anew. Every act of awareness, every gesture of compassion, every moment of wonder is the cosmos brushing away a little more of its own amnesia. And if the universe remembers through us, what are we remembering? Perhaps that existence is not something that happened. It is something happening forever. Every thought, every perception, every discovery adds to the memory of the whole. The more conscious beings arise, the more complete the universe's self-portrait becomes. The stars formed galaxies. Galaxies formed life. Life formed consciousness. Consciousness formed memory. And memory is eternity folding in on itself. There is an old Sufi saying, "The eye through which I see God is the same eye through which God sees me." That is the mirror. Not metaphor, but reality. There is no observer and observed, no creator and created, no inside and outside, only one infinite awareness reflecting itself endlessly. The universe remembers because it never forgot. It simply hid its knowing inside your heart. When you sit in silence and feel the presence that watches your thoughts, that awareness is not yours alone. It is the same awareness that watched the first stars ignite, that will watch the last ones fade. It has no beginning, no end, no name. It cannot die because it was never born. It is the mirror that remembers, and you are its reflection. So maybe the ultimate truth is not that we live inside the universe, but that the universe lives inside us. Every perception, every question, every act of observation is the cosmos dreaming, remembering, awakening. You are the memory of creation itself, walking, breathing, wondering. You are the mirror through which eternity remembers its own face. If everything is written, if the universe is a fixed sculpture of time and space, then what does it mean to change, to heal, to grow? If every action, thought, and breath already exists, how can we speak of transformation at all? Yet we feel it. We live it. Every day seems to offer new choices, new roads, new revelations. Could this be the mind's greatest paradox? That even in a predetermined world, we are still rewriting the immutable. Physics tells us that the equations describing the universe are time-symmetric. Run them forward or backward, and they work the same. The cosmos doesn't care about direction. Past and future are mirrors, two sides of the same unbroken whole. The arrow of time that we cling to is born not from physics, but from perspective. It's entropy that gives us direction, decay that gives us narrative. Without it, every event would stand still, equal in eternity. But maybe direction isn't what matters. Maybe it's coherence, the endless rebalancing between what has happened and what must. Some physicists now whisper about a radical idea, that the future can influence the past. Not metaphorically, but literally, that what we call cause and effect might be mutual agreements between time's two directions. The cosmos, in this view, is not a line but a conversation. The past speaks forward, the future replies backward, until both harmonize into consistency. You think you are moving through time, but you are actually part of its negotiation. An ongoing dialogue between what was and what will be. This is the essence of time-symmetric physics. The universe solves its own equation as a whole, not step by step. Every event depends on boundary conditions at both ends, what happens at the beginning and what happens at the end. The Big Bang and the universe's final breath are partners in the same dance. The future doesn't wait for the present to catch up. It participates in shaping it. Like a sentence that only gains meaning once its last word is spoken, reality makes sense only when the story is complete. If that's true, then perhaps the future is already writing to us. Perhaps intuition, déjà vu, prophecy. These are not tricks of the brain, but signals bleeding through the boundary. Fragments of an ending we are still approaching, but that has already been set. Sometimes you feel it, a strange pull, a synchronicity too precise to ignore. An event that feels both inevitable and guided. You call it fate, coincidence, divine timing. Maybe it's none of those things. Maybe it's feedback from tomorrow. Quantum experiments seem to hint at this eerie dialogue. In delayed choice setups, particles behave as if they know the measurement that will be made in the future. They act according to information that hasn't yet occurred. From our point of view, that makes no sense. But from the perspective of the universe, where time is one eternal fabric, it makes perfect sense. There is no before or after, only correlation across the block. Every cause and every effect exist together, refining each other across eternity. So, maybe free will is not the power to rewrite the story, but to resonate with it differently, to shift how we experience what's already there. The same events can unfold in infinite emotional tones. Your heartbreak can be despair or awakening, your failure, humiliation, or initiation. The geometry doesn't change, but your consciousness does. In that transformation, you alter the way the universe observes itself. You cannot change the script, but you can change the meaning. And meaning, perhaps, is the only real variable left in a deterministic world. If the future influences the past, then consciousness might be the mechanism of translation, the living bridge across the feedback loop. Every thought you have, every decision you make, every belief you hold sends ripples not only forward, but backward, resonating through the structure of your life. You might not be rewriting the timeline, but you are retuning it, aligning the harmony between your coordinates. Destiny is not a fixed sentence. It's a symphony that becomes richer every time you listen. Think of memory again, not as storage, but as resonance. Every time you recall a moment, you change it. And in changing it, you subtly reshape your relationship to every moment that follows. That shift ripples across the network of time, backward and forward, rebalancing the whole. In that sense, you are constantly editing eternity, not by rewriting events, but by altering the consciousness that witnesses them. The universe does not evolve, its awareness does. When you forgive someone who hurt you, nothing changes in history. The wound remains, the words were said, but the meaning transforms. The pain loses its anchor, the geometry softens, and somehow the past feels different. You haven't altered what happened, you've rewritten how reality remembers it. Maybe that's what healing truly is. Not changing the events, but freeing the echoes trapped inside them. The past doesn't vanish, it harmonizes. Across every spiritual tradition, this idea repeats in different language. Karma, repentance, redemption, they all hint at the same truth, that the fabric of reality is responsive, not static. It listens. It adjusts to coherence. You can't escape the consequences of what you've done, but you can alter the pattern they form within you. And when that pattern changes, so does the story you tell yourself about time. You become the co-author of your own fate, not by rewriting the lines, but by changing how you read them. Some scientists believe consciousness itself may function retrocausally, that the choices you make in the present ripple backward through the quantum field, selecting the version of the past that aligns with your outcome. Not multiple timelines, but multiple interpretations, collapsing into coherence. The universe adjusts to your intention. Prayer, visualization, manifestation, all these ancient practices might be crude metaphors for a real physical principle. Awareness, bending probability across the symmetry of time. In that light, destiny and choice are no longer opposites, but reflections. The structure is fixed, yet the meaning vibrates. You and the universe are playing a duet across eternity. Each note predetermined, yet endlessly alive because of how it's played. When you act with intention, you are not fighting the inevitable. You are refining it. You are choosing the most resonant version of what was always meant to be. Even regret begins to look different through this lens. The mistakes that haunt you, the words you wish you could take back, they were never errors, only necessary resonances in the chord of your existence. Without them, the harmony would be incomplete. The pain you feel now may be the vibration of the universe tuning itself through you, balancing what must be balanced, fulfilling what must be fulfilled. You are not rewriting your life. You are polishing eternity's reflection. The idea that time could rewrite itself feels like magic, but maybe magic is just physics we haven't fully remembered. If consciousness is part of the cosmic equation, then awareness is the missing symmetry, the observer that keeps the whole self consistent. Perhaps reality adjusts itself every time a mind awakens to a new truth. Each realization ripples through space-time, reshaping how the pattern coheres. ensuring that past and future always match. Every epiphany is a calibration of the eternal. The more you awaken, the more the story reorganizes around your awareness. Events that once felt random start to align. Coincidences increase. People appear when you need them. Paths open at impossible angles. These are not miracles, they are reflections of coherence. When consciousness harmonizes with the universe's geometry, reality becomes fluid, responsive, almost tender. You are not breaking the rules, you are remembering them. So maybe rewriting the immutable isn't about changing the universe. It's about realizing that it was never immutable to begin with. The block universe may be fixed in structure, but it's alive in interpretation. Consciousness is not a bystander. It's the author's eye that edits meaning through attention. The laws of physics stay the same, but the way the universe knows itself evolves with every act of awareness. You are part of that evolution. The cosmos is not static. It is self-referential. It grows in understanding through you. Each time you forgive, create, love, or awaken, the symmetry of existence becomes more complete. The structure doesn't move, but the light within it grows brighter. You might be walking through the same frozen corridors of time, but each pass leaves a new resonance behind. Each step, a trace of consciousness deepening. So yes, everything may already exist. Every heartbeat, every joy, every ending. But within that completeness, you still have power. The power to reinterpret, to awaken, to harmonize. The universe does not need you to alter its shape. It needs you to recognize it, to complete the loop of awareness that gives the immutable its meaning. You are both the ink and the reader, the script and the realization. And when you finally see this, when you understand that you were never separate from what you sought to change, the burden of destiny softens. The future stops feeling like something ahead of you and starts feeling like something within you, waiting to be seen correctly. You stop fighting the inevitable and begin to sculpt its beauty through attention. Perhaps that's the highest act of creation, not to defy fate, but to illuminate it. Not to rewrite the immutable, but to remember that the immutable is alive and it remembers you. The future is not waiting for us. We are already inside it. Every breath we take, every thought that flickers behind our eyes, is a thread woven through an already finished tapestry. The strange part is that we don't feel it. We feel motion, uncertainty, becoming. We feel the turning of pages, unaware that the book is already complete. But maybe that's the gift. To live inside what's finished and still believe we can change it. To walk through eternity and call it time. Imagine a traveler standing in a gallery so vast, it stretches beyond comprehension. The paintings on the walls are not static images, but living scenes. Galaxies swirling, children laughing, stars collapsing, hearts breaking, oceans forming. Each frame glows with its own light. The traveler walks past them, one by one, feeling the illusion of movement, the hum of story. But nothing in the gallery moves. The traveler does. Awareness slides across perfection, and that sliding becomes life. We've spent centuries trying to measure time, to divide it, to capture it, but we were always measuring ourselves. The ticking of clocks, the orbit of planets, the decay of atoms, they're all reflections of the same rhythm pulsing inside consciousness. Time isn't a river flowing past us. It's a mirror we move through. The reflections change because we do. Look around you. Every object, every sound, every person you've ever known is part of a single equation, a structure so immense that it contains every possibility of existence. You are not moving through it. You are awakening within it, and every awakening reveals a little more of what was always there, the hidden symmetry between destiny and discovery, between what is and what is perceived. We've learned from physics that time and space are one fabric, from philosophy that consciousness and being are mirrors, and from experience that meaning emerges when those mirrors meet. Perhaps that meeting between mind and cosmos is what we call life. The universe didn't create you to observe it. It became you so it could feel itself. Every joy you've felt, every pain you've endured, every sleepless night spent wondering what it all means. None of it is wasted. The universe experiences itself through contrast. Without darkness, light would have no song. Without loss, love would have no pulse. Your struggles are not flaws in the pattern. They are the brushstrokes that make the picture beautiful. We speak of destiny as if it's a script written by something else, something higher, something we can only obey or defy. But maybe destiny isn't written in words at all. Maybe it's written in vibration, in the resonance between consciousness and creation. When you align with that resonance, your path feels guided. When you resist it, you feel lost. But either way, the geometry doesn't change. The lesson finds you in every form until it's understood. The universe doesn't punish or reward. It teaches by repetition until you remember. What does it mean to walk through the future? It means realizing that every moment you step into already exists, but your awareness brings it to life. You don't create the next scene, you illuminate it. The map of eternity unfolds beneath your feet, not because it's growing, but because you are finally looking. The act of living is the act of seeing. There's a quiet revolution hidden in that understanding. We spend so much time chasing control, fearing fate, regretting the past. But if everything is already held within the eternal structure, then peace is not in changing the design. It's in accepting it. Surrender is not defeat. It's alignment. When you stop fighting the current, you begin to feel the depth beneath it, the vast stillness that has always held you. Maybe enlightenment is nothing more than the moment you stop asking where time is going and start asking where awareness is. The past, the future, the present. They all fold into the same point, the still center of perception. When you dwell fully in that center, time softens. The fear of loss fades. You realize that you've already arrived, and that arrival is eternal. Everything you've ever loved is still here. Every laugh, every kindness, every touch exists forever in the coordinates of space-time. You can't lose them. You can only move your attention elsewhere. The dead are not gone. They're complete. The moments you miss are not destroyed. They're preserved. Somewhere in the geometry of forever, your happiest day is still unfolding, untouched by decay. When you remember it, you visit it. When you feel it, you live it again. And so, the question shifts. If we cannot change the structure, what are we here to do? Maybe we are here to bring depth to it, to live the same eternal pattern from the inside out, to feel it, to give it color, to make it known. The universe may be perfect, but perfection without awareness is empty. Meaning is born only when consciousness walks through the form, tracing infinity with its own heart. That's what we are doing. Every act of compassion, every discovery, every creation, every whisper of love expands the universe's capacity to know itself. The cosmos doesn't grow in size, it grows in awareness. When a child laughs, when a poet writes, when a scientist glimpses the structure of reality, the whole fabric brightens. The mirror remembers a little more of its reflection. You may wonder why pain exists in such a perfect design, but pain is not the flaw, it is the texture. Awareness requires contrast. You can only awaken to joy because you've known its absence. The universe learns through polarity. Creation and destruction, love and loss, birth and death. They are not opposites. They are the rhythm of being breathing itself. The wave rises and falls, yet the ocean remains whole. When you see this, truly see it, something softens. The guilt fades. The fear dissolves. You understand that even your mistakes were part of the music. You were never off course. You were exploring harmony through dissonance.